Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Reality Spirituality. I'm your host, global, that's right, I said global happiness specialist, inner peace practitioner, oracle, but most importantly, a student, ongoing student of the universe. Woo-wee, what a week. I just want to dive in really, but before I do, let me just share. If you want to speak with me live, you can call in area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619 to speak with me live. And if you're listening on Wisdom, just ask to connect. Let me just do a brief introduction. I mean, I meet people, not meet people, but online people are discovering the show, sharing the show. So let me just give a brief background of this crazy woman whose priority commitment is happiness. And let me be very clear when I say happiness. It is a personal vibration of contentment. My definition of happiness is the ability to vibrate peace. Why am I yelling? Stop it. Let me just calm down. My personal definition of happiness is the ability to be at peace, regardless of what happens in the external world. My definition of happiness is the ability to vibrate an energy of peace and contentment, regardless of what happens. Regardless of what happens to me personally and regardless of what happens in the world. And that's the definition. And I realize that that's my own personal definition. And I do not pretend, one of the things, I do not pretend to have all of the answers. But what I can offer is just a different perspective. And if you connect or you feel if you connect with the different with my perspective, yay. And if you don't, that's okay too. But this is my perspective. And this thing called happiness, I've shared this forever, that when I was younger, I wished for two things. I wanted to live to my potential, and then I wanted to be happy. And this search, this discovery, this journey to happiness has led me. I know the truth about happiness. It has nothing to do with what happens out there. Happiness, inner peace, contentment is an inside job. And the proof of that is the ability, the evidence to vibrate contentment, regardless of what is going on out there. And the good news is that it's a practice. Happiness is a practiced skill. Inner peace is a practiced skill. Vibrating the energy of contentment is a practice. But before the practice, the individual has to value contentment, has to value inner peace. Or how about that? Wants to value contentment, sees value. How about that? That's even better. Sees value in contentment. sees value in inner peace. The individual, let me speak for myself. When I say crave, when I say need, I need that, the craving, that vibration of inner peace more than anything else. Like I was stranded out in the desert for 40 days, and now all of a sudden there's water. 40 days, after 40 days, I may be dead after that. But okay, how about this? 3 days stranded in the desert, and then there's water. So the contentment, this is how, with fervor, the contentment, this vibration of contentment for me is number one over anything else. Anything else in the world. Even, I hope he's not listening, my son, my inner peace and my contentment is number one. Number one. Why? I believe, my perspective is, that's the best way that I can serve. That is the best way that I can serve, whether it's an individual or even the world. My vibration, my personal vibration, has an affects the world. My vibration is my contribution. That's why that's important. That's why I believe it's important. Let me get back to this happiness thing, because I get a lot of pushback with, we're happy. That word happy, well, it just doesn't even, I don't like that word, happy. Why are you seeking happiness? It's not attainable. Believe me, 45 years of this practice, I've heard it all. And I have to say, before I go on, this show and it is triggering. Buttons are pushed, triggers are triggered, a lot of disagreements, and that's okay too. And the audience doesn't matter if one person is listening or 1 million people are listening. It doesn't matter. My purpose and my destiny on this planet is to share with whoever is inspired, whoever wants to listen, the truth about happiness. And it has nothing to do with anything external. The book that I'm going to be publishing, hopefully before the end of the year, is called Program for Unhappiness. And I've said it before, I'm up to 54 program behaviors that subtract from happiness. And today, there's different levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, and we're going to talk about some level 3 behaviors. So those are behaviors that the practice is necessary to maintain and sustain this vibration of inner peace, especially when it looks like, notice capital, looks like the world is going to hell. And when I say looks like, whose eyes, who's determining, who's making that judgment that the world is going to hell? Who's making that judgment that there is disorder? What entity is making the judgment that there is disorder in the world? I don't know about you, but I've given my ego a break. It's on life support now. Judgments about, let's see, hold on, let me back up a little bit. Judgments about what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. I promise you I get it, and there is nothing. Don't you know that if I could snap my fingers, don't you know if I could snap my fingers, I would create, manifest a different type of world? I wouldn't want anyone harmed. It's children, elderly, a person harmed, raped, murdered, tortured. I wouldn't want that. In fact, I can. And I'm going to say most wouldn't. But that's not the world, this world that I'm in right now. And so what can I do? What can I do? How can I act? Well, being a happiness specialist, this is very challenging. extremely challenging. But let me get back to, when I say happiness is a practice skill, it is a practice, it is a state of mind, it is a internal vibration, it's an energy, it is a foundation, it is where it is number one. That's where that's where I come from, a place of peace and contentment. And then without that, if I'm anxious, if I'm angry, if I'm just labeling these emotions, because in my personal life I don't label emotions. If I'm okay, you know what? I'm really excited about this topic. Let me give you an analogy. Of human emotions. And again, I'm not labeling them. So let's take water. And when water is frozen, it's hard. There's no penetration. It's rigid. It's hard. You can't. I mean, let's go to a glacier. You can't tear down a glacier with an ice pick. So there's that form of water that is frozen solid, rigid. And then there's another form where water is melted and flowy. And then there's another form when you turn on the stove with a pot of water in it, and you leave the fire on, the water evaporates, steam, evaporation. So those are the different, for me, so those are the different types of states me as a human can experiences. And I can feel the ice cube. You can feel it. That's when I believe something is serious, something is important. You can feel the heaviness, if you will. I don't want to use the rigidity, if you will, of an ice cube. Or you can be an example of water that flows. Or you can be even more of an example when you're steamy and you're airy. All the same, but different states. Question: which state would you think is going to serve humanity, serve the world better? The solid ice cube, the water flow, or the steamy? And that's what I'm talking about when I say serving the world. It starts with that person in the mirror. It starts with me. I'm not going to say we, because I'm not in your business, but it starts with me. How can I serve this world to my highest abilities? And I contend that the work is done in the mirror. The work is done in the mirror. And I contend that when I am at my highest level of contentment, then my service to the world, to an individual, to my neighbor, to my family, to my relationships, to co-workers. It's like, what is it? This is so corny. Putting your best foot forward, or putting your best energy forward. And self-monitoring and self-awareness is key. You know what else is key? Being able to have a different perspective, being able to have a universal perspective. The universe, my ego can only manage one perspective, can only see one thing. And you know what my ego tells me? My ego says, oh, my God, look at what's happening. Make a judgment about it and stick with it and stay with it. Because there's not more than just one perspective. It's just one perspective. And make a judgment about that one perspective. But I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you to practice having more than one perspective, even with what's going on, even when the world says choose a side. When you choose a side, it doesn't matter. Choose one side, two sides, three sides. Choosing a side means that you only can see one way. And this is nothing to do with the sides. This has something to do with life. When you practice being able to have a universal perspective, because I'll tell you right now, the sun shines on the serial killer and the Pope. The serial killer and the Pope. Oh, by the way, if you want to speak with me live, the number to call in is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And or if you're on Wisdom, you can just ask to join the show. Back to the perspective. And how can I contribute to peace on earth? And is it even, has there ever been peace on earth? Has there ever been people, okay, hold on, hold on a second. I printed something out. Now I have to walk to the printer. Hold on. I'm walking to the printer. I don't know if you, I'm going to put the microphone next to my feet. Listen to this. Hold on. I got to walk back to the studio. Oh, this is crazy. RealitySpirituality. RealitySpirituality. That's right. Oh, that was fun. Jeez Louise. See, here we go. There was a tweet that I responded to a few days ago, and it was Elon Musk's tweet. Well, that's hard to say. Elon Musk's tweet. And his question, he asked the question, how do we eliminate hate? How do you eliminate hate? Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Musk, I'll tell you, Elon, give me a call, by the way. So this is what I responded. This is what I commented. I said, since the beginning of man's existence, people have hated. People hate. Since the beginning of man's existence. That's the truth. The only, and I capitalize the word only, the only hate that can be eliminated is the hate within an individual. You cannot eliminate hate from the masses. You can only eliminate your own hate. And then I said happiness is a practice skill. Thank you, Mr. Elon Musk. So, and that's the truth. Since the beginning of time, man has hated. People hate. So trying to fix, scratch that fix, trying to solve, that isn't, you know there's only one place on the planet that is all peaceful, and I don't know if you know this. Look it up. It's bonobo monkeys. Have you ever heard of the bonobo monkeys? They're the only animals on the planet that all they do is love. They live with in a tribe, bonobo. Google it. I should have had it Googled. They're the only species that they love. They share food. They don't fight. They love. But that's not humans. If you want to eliminate hate, eliminate the hate from within. And I'm not telling you that I have this mastered, because there are, well, I don't hate. I definitely don't hate anymore. I used to. Oh, boy, and I used to be feeling really proud of my hate and justified with my hate. I'm speaking for myself. Justified hating. Of course. Especially somebody that did me wrong or stole or was Come on. I'm attacked. Now, I don't mean physically. But I know what it feels like to hate an individual. I know what it feels like to hate a circumstance. But what I'm saying is that doesn't offer the world anything other than more hate. So it's my job, it's my responsibility to eliminate all hate within. Now, I have to say that there's no more hate anymore, but there is, oh, God, ugh. But I'm working on it. Happiness, inner peace, is a practice skill. I'm still practicing, and I'm going to be practicing until I breathe my last breath. That's the thing about this practice. It's ongoing. It's all-consuming. It's never-ending. And what is the war? This is my personal war. Is the war inside? Is the war with the ego? The ego that tells me that it's all-consuming, telling me that there's something wrong with this moment, that there's something that needs to change in this moment. And the more the ego, and the more the ego says that, or speaks that, or gives stories or evidence of that, the more I shine a light on it and say, I know your intention, ego. I know your agenda, ego. I know your agenda, lower consciousness, and it's not for me to have any peace. It's not for me to feel. You're really not a friend. You're really not in my corner. No, it feeds on drama. It feeds on discontentment. The ego feeds on feeling like crap, like crap. It feeds on it. And I will be damned if I allow the ego to consume me. It actually possesses. I'm speaking for myself. I remember about 3 days ago that the stories just kept coming and coming. I wake up with the stories. And for some reason, the universe allowed me these stories of what's wrong with the moment, what should be, I use the word should, air quotes, what should be happening, and it's not, including the world. You could make it a micro or a macro topic. Because all micro topics are still can translate into the world too. Back to that. So what happened? A whole day of in my go-to, my ego's go-to is anger. Oh, believe it or not, yes. Why is and impatience? That's my ego's main course. That's what it feeds on the most. Impatience and getting angry why something isn't happening. So what is your go-to? My best friend, his go-to is being sad. He said when his ego is in full force, he looks for sad songs. he can't resist feeling sad. And so my question to you is, how aware are you of the two entities, universal, ego-driven, that want to take control of your vibration, your energy, your emotions? The practice is really, I have to say it is the most challenging practice that I found. But one of the secrets is to, number one, accept. Okay, I hear all the horrors. I hear all the bad stories. I hear all of it. Thank you, ego, for all the doom and gloom stories. Thank you, ego, for all of the discontent. Thank you, ego, for all of that. And the second day, because it was a day of just being overwhelmed, and for some reason the universe just let me wallow in it. And the second day, the universe said to me, find another perspective. Find a universal perspective. It's very, very, it's interesting how the ego, listen to this one, the ego creates this identity. My identity, Rebecca L. Norrington, that's a human identity. The ego creates this identity. I know what I like, I know what I don't like, Rebecca L. Norrington, a human identity. And then the ego attacks the identity that it created. The ego, it's like cannibalism, and it's constant. It is a constant, it never, and it doesn't give up. It never gives up. It's ruthless. But I know all of its tricks. I've been studying this shit for too long. And so on the next day, I told the ego, I said, you know what? You're taking a break today. I'm giving you a break. I don't want your input. Thank you, but I don't need it or want it. And I'm going to get back to the justifying happiness and in the middle of war and terrorism and murder in a minute. Just the ego needs to be seen, heard, listened to, responded to. And I just said, take a break. And for about, 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, it took a break. And then it went right back to work. That's the entity that you're dealing with here. It is relentless in its fervor to take over, for me to, and what does it want? It wants me to identify with this, with it. Yes, that's me, my thoughts, my stories. And I'm here to tell you that's a bunch of crap. That's a bunch of bull crap. On the second, let me just back up a little. On the second day, I was saying, take a break, ego, take a break. I don't want to hear anything in my head. Take a break. Quiet. Take a break. And so that's a new practice. But you know what else the ego hates? And let's get back to justifying happiness and justifying inner peace and war. You know what else the ego hates? The ego hates another perspective. The ego hates me to be open to multiple perspectives. Hates it. Hates it. Hates it. I refuse to be a prisoner, to be kidnapped, to be held hostage by this entity that only gives bad, judgmental, something's wrong news. I refuse, because it's not me. You are not your ego. You know, as soon as you're born, you're given a name, a nationality, a religion, a race, and a culture. Then you spend the rest of your life identifying and defending that program. And I'm here to say that I'm identifying less and less and less with this humanness. I'm not. I'm not, because I know that the human, and that's another thing. You know, people, how can I trust someone else? Trust a human. How about trusting the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, spirit, source, higher power? How about trusting that? A human? Good luck. Why? Why would you do that? Why is that even a concept? Let's get back to the topic. Okay. What can I do? What can I do? What kind of action? What kind of action can I take to uplift, to cause the world to vibrate at a higher level? How about that? What kind of action can I take that would cause the world to vibrate at a higher level? Because, you know, when I'm vibrating at a higher level, the world's vibrating at a higher level. Where are my levels of consciousness? Hold on a second. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. You know what? I need to be better prepared. Wow. I can't find, you know, the thing is I'm moving and I've packed half of the house. So I don't even know where that book is. But it's Dr. David Hawkins' Force versus Power. And it maps the levels of human consciousness. Where is that book? Hold on a second. I'm going to be determined. There's no way. Where is that book? Where did I? Oh, I found it. I found it. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, universe. Reality Spirituality. Here we go. The levels of human consciousness. Now, when I say this is by Dr. David Hawkins, and it's from the book Power versus Force. And when I say the levels of human consciousness, what I'm talking about are the levels of personal vibration, the energy of the different levels. And the first level, which vibrates really low, so there's low vibrations, higher vibrations, you already know all of that. So the lowest vibration is shame. The second is guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger. That's where my ego loves to live. My ego loves to live. My ego just gets angry. I was raised in a house that my mother would say, I'm ticked off. That ticks me off. I'm ticked off. So, yes, I was ticked off about everything when I left that house, too. I can find a million things to be ticked off by. But little by little, as a happiness specialist, what I've asked, and you know that when you ask the universe, you always receive. So when I asked for, you know what I asked for? I don't ask for anything material. I ask for how can I eliminate being annoyed and irritated? The irritation and the annoyance in that Norrington house, it could be, as my son said, I would ask him, what bothered you today? He said, what didn't bother me today? So it is a programming of being irritated, annoyed, and bothered, and triggered, and buttons pushed. That's a program. But when you recognize that, and when you really want to experience something different more consistently, that's where the practice comes in. So yeah, I asked the universe decades ago. I just don't want to be irritated or annoyed again. And so one of the things that the universe has gifted me with, I don't know if any of you listening are road ragers or are bothered by traffic or bothered by how people drive, bothered by inconsiderate drivers. That's another program. Bothered, irritated by inconsiderate drivers. You're taking other people, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but you're taking the way other people drive. The way other people drive affects your peace. The way other people drive affects your contentment, your happiness. Why would you even allow that? Well, the ego thrives on it, loves on it, feeds it. But I could care less how people drive. I used to be bothered by slow drivers, inconsiderate, rude drivers. No, drive any way you want to drive. It's my responsibility to leave the house early enough so I can cruise and I can be relaxed behind the wheel. I don't even know how I got off on that. But let's get back to the consciousness, the levels of human consciousness, or also known as levels of personal vibration. Level energy 150, anger. I know how I got off because I was talking about anger. The other level after anger is pride. Do you think you can find any contentment, any peace in pride and have pride? I still have a little bit of pride. I'm, trying to dig it out from the corners in the back closet, trying to dig. I'm excavating everything that isn't useful, that doesn't contribute to my inner peace. I'm working on it. 45 years, and I will continue until the last breath. After pride comes courage. Courage, I believe, comes from, yes, looking in the mirror and doing what I need to do, taking action. How can I take action? And being patient with self, being patient with myself. Because the ego is very impatient. Then after courage comes neutrality. Energy becomes very positive as we get to the level that we have termed neutral, because it is epitomized by release from the positionalities that typifies the lower levels. Okay, that was that. Okay, after neutrality comes willingness. You remember we talked about in the beginning of the show the different stages, the different forms of water, from ice to melted water to steam. Willingness. Where do you think willingness is going to come from? Not from being an ice cube. Willingness is coming from being in the flow, flowing with whatever is coming into your experience. Flow with all of it without resistance. And then after willingness comes acceptance. And it's very, very difficult to difficult. It is challenging, especially when I was programmed not to accept the moment. I don't know about you, but I was programmed not to accept anything, and especially things that people that weren't like me, people that I didn't relate to, not like me. You know what the crazy thing is? The universe. Oh, this is my perspective. The universe relates to everyone. The universe is having an experience through everyone, not just some people, all people. The universe wants to experience everything, even the things that my little pea brain can't even comprehend. Why would the universe want to experience being murdered? Why? After acceptance is reason. Intelligence, and I'm reading a little bit. Let me just read a little bit of this acceptance, because that's really the key here. Energy level 350. At this level of awareness, a major transformation takes place, with the understanding that one is oneself, the source and creator of the experience of one's life. Taking such responsibility is distinctive of this degree of evolution, characterized by the capacity to live harmonious with all forces of life. All people at levels below 200, we're talking about energy levels, vibration, all people at levels below 200 tend to be powerless and see themselves as victims at the mercy of life. This stems from a belief that the source of one's happiness or the cause of one's problems is out there. Let me read that again. and I'm reading under the paragraph where it says acceptance. All people at levels below 200 tend to be powerless and see themselves as victims, and are at the mercy of life. And that's what I'm talking about when I say happiness is inside. It's a practice skill. Happiness, inner peace comes from within. It has nothing to do with what's going on outside. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This stems from a belief that the source of one's happiness or the cause of one's problems is out there. An enormous jump taking back one's own power is completed at this level in realization that the source of happiness is within oneself. That's why it doesn't matter what the world is going through. It doesn't matter what is happening. And the thing is, the other thing, making a judgment about what's happening in the world. Now, that has nothing to do with not taking action. In fact, where's my list? You can do numerous things to assist. You can donate your time. You can donate money. You can volunteer. But I contend that I'm not going to put it on the most important. I'm not going to say the most important, but I also contend that your vibration, raising your own vibration, raising your own personal energy to a level, a higher vibration is going to benefit the world. In fact, Dr. David Hawkins says, acceptance is not to be confused with passivity, which is a symptom of apathy. This form of acceptance allows engagement in life on life's own terms without trying to make it conform to an agenda. With acceptance, there's an emotional calm and perception that is widened and transcended. Acceptance has to do with essentially being balanced. The individual at the level of acceptance is not interested in determining right or wrong. Ooh, that's a tough one, isn't it? The individual at the level of acceptance is not interested in determining right or wrong, but instead is dedicated to resolving issues and finding out what to do about problems. So let's get back to let me just finish reading this. Okay, acceptance. And then another level is reason. And then after reason, we get to love. And I'm not talking about this human love, because this human love is conditional. I love you but if you cheat on me, I'm out of here. So I'm talking about universal love, which is unconditional. Love is depicted, here we go. Love is depicted, I'm reading from Power versus Force, Dr. David Hawkins. Love is depicted in the mass media is not what this level implies. On the contrary, what the world, did I just say that, Dr. Hawkins? He's my number one go-to. On the contrary, what the world generally refers to love is an intense emotional, combining physical attraction, possessiveness, control, addiction, eroticism, and novelty. That's not the love we're talking about. We're talking about unconditional love. And then after love is joy. As love becomes more and more unconditional, it begins to experience an inner joy. And then after joy comes peace. After joy comes peace. This energy field is associated with the experience designated by such terms as transcendence, self-realization, and God consciousness, not ego, God consciousness. And it is extremely rare. That's my intention. That's my intention 24/7. And the ego doesn't like that. My ego doesn't like that. And then after the level of peace, here we go, comes enlightenment. Enlightenment, this is the level of the great ones of history who originated the spiritual patterns and multitudes have followed throughout the ages. All are associated with divinity, with which they are often identified. This is the level of powerful inspiration, blah, 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 blah. What is my point? Do I even have one? The point is that if your intention or your agenda is to serve the world, it starts with what is your foundation? What is your personal foundation? What are you rooted in? So if you're volunteering, say you're volunteering in an old folks' home, which in about 6 months that's where I'll be living. Always keep it light. Always keep it light. Humor. My son tells me, Mom, everything isn't funny. Okay, maybe not to you. Well, everything isn't funny, but there's a lot that is. So if I'm volunteering, whether it's a war zone, a doctor, an old folks home, a hospice, if I'm volunteering, using my time to assist, using my time to care, using my time to be of need and be of service, and I'm in a room with a man or a woman that can't feed themselves, and my job is to sit with them during breakfast and feed them. I mean, literally feed them. Now I'm going to start boo-hooing. Oh, I'm such a crybaby, and it's my job to feed them breakfast, lunch, and dinner because they can't feed themselves. I don't want to feed them with. I don't want to have an energy of other than a peaceful, calm energy. Can you imagine being angry and trying to feed someone that needs you, or being judgmental, or being obsessed with hate, judgment, and trying to assist someone else? I can't. And for me, that's why I practice. I don't have anything mastered, but I practice all the time, 24/7, to be mindful and to be aware of my personal energy and what am I? What am I presenting? Am I just talking about it, or am I actually vibrating it? And that's where I have to make a lot of trips to the mirror, because it is me. It's not about anyone out there. So when I see, and trust me, I have, when I've seen a lot of the videos that the world has seen, and it touches my soul in a way that I can't describe. And again, if I could snap my fingers, it would be a world of peace. But that's not the world I'm living in. It's not the world I'm living in. But one of the things that I know, that I practice, is that if I can't control it, I have no control over anything other than my personal vibration, my personal energy. That is my gift. And my time, and my resources, and my money, and my help. That's what I can do. And I could do more, always. And I'm not telling you to think like me or have the same perspective, but that's what I'm just sharing. Because I get happiness. There's no room for happiness now. No, this when I say happiness, inner peace. There's no room for that. There's no time for that now. We have a war to fight. That's when it's most needed. That's when I believe it's most needed. Individuals. Can you imagine if the world elevated their own, the conscious level of the world would be elevated? Well, it starts with you elevating yours. It starts with you elevating your energy, your vibration. As I tweeted back to Elon Musk, he asked the question, and I said this earlier, I have to say it again. He asked the question, how do we eliminate hate? So the truth is, since the beginning of man's existence, people have hated. And all hate is from the ego, lower consciousness. It's a program. The only hate that can be eliminated is the hate within an individual. You cannot eliminate hate from the masses. You can only eliminate your own hate. I'm open to anyone commenting or calling in. The number here to call in and speak with me live is area code 646-564-9619. Again, area code 646-564-9619. And again, what can I do? Time, donate. But for me, the most important also is my own personal vibration, my own energy. And the constant judging and talking, and I get it. That's what programmed humans do. Programmed humans usually, not all the time, but usually, you know what they love to do? You know what the ego loves to do? Focus on the problem. Problem. Focus on the problem. Talk about the problem. Make judgments of the problem, as opposed to looking for solutions from within. What can I do? This being kind. Well, you can't be kind if you're not kind to yourself. If you're not kind to yourself, it all starts with self, and it all starts with eliminating those programs. Level 3. Resisting the present moment. Reacting rather than responding. Here we go. This is a tough one. Oh, this is tough. Oh, I don't even want to say it. Oh, buttons are going to get pushed and triggered. Here we go. Believing that life is unjust and unfair. Oh, believing that life is unjust and unfair. The sun shines on the serial killer and the Pope. That's another program. It's not easy. In fact, I'm telling you, it is a challenge beyond my words can express. It's not easy to say and believe and trust and know that everything is in divine order, even now. That there is a reason for all of it, even now. That God's plan is a divine plan. I know. And whatever is happening, there is a purpose for it. I know. I'm not going to argue with you, but I'm not going to argue. I'm just sharing what I practice. And it isn't easy. It's not an easy practice. And in fact, let me leave with this, or end the show with this final example of what I'm talking about. Real life example. Well, at least it's a story. What was that guy's name? Hold on a second. I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, that's our Jesus. I like to do that. It's really, if you've listened to me before, I like to say, whoa, what was his name? What was his name again? Oh, that's right, Jesus. When Jesus was nailed to the cross after being tortured, humiliated, crown of thorns, you can't get any worse. What did he say? Forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. How the hell can Jesus say forgive them to people that are murdering him? And if Jesus can do it, so can you. Jesus said, this is a lesson. Jesus said, greater works you will do. And it becomes a practice. How can, in the middle, you only know a person when they're challenged. It's easy to be happy and free and fun when, the birds are singing and the sun is out. But who are you when you're challenged? And this shit that's going on is a challenge. It is a challenge. But what is your contribution? How can a person say, forgive them? How can they be that calm and peaceful in the middle of in the middle of being crucified? And that's exactly what I'm talking about right now. That state of mind, that state of being, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, I'm justifying inner peace. I'm justifying happiness. I'm justifying contentment in the middle of war. And, I get a lot of pushback. Well, that's Jesus. That's you. That's you too. Because if Jesus can do it, so can you. Jesus did it, not can do it. If Jesus did it, so can you. In fact, I'll give you another example. What was this? I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe. I don't know the time, but it was recent. 20 years is recent. I've given this example before, too. There was you can Google it, there was a mass murder of children. They were Amish. In Amish country, Pennsylvania. I hope it's Pennsylvania. Amish country, and this man, execution style, murdered, shot. I think at least 8 to 10 children in a school. Murdered them. And after that, I believe he murdered himself. I think he shot himself too after that. And then after that, or maybe the authorities shot him. I believe he shot himself. Those are stories I don't try to keep in my head. I have no reason. But it would have been nice if I would have studied more details before. But you can Google it. And what the Amish families did after their children were murdered, they went to the home of the parents of the murderer. They went to the home of the parents of the murderer and said, we hold no ill will towards you. And they went to the murderer's funeral. The man that murdered their own children, they comforted the parents, the murderer's parents. That's what I'm talking about. It also happened, I believe there was, even later than that, there was a shooting of people in a black church. And again, the parishioners, forgiveness. That's what I'm talking about. Not, just overlook it, head in the sand, murder and killing, I'm ignoring it. No. There is a practice that is higher and beyond what the world practices. And I'm challenging anyone that's listening to this is to be that example. Be a human example of the universe. Be a human example of a community that forgives their own children's murderer. Who's teaching that? Who's sharing that? Who's practicing that? I am practicing that. Don't pretend to have it mastered. Inner peace, contentment are all practices. And I contend that is how I am going to best serve the world, including taking action, donating time, resources, all of that. But it starts with a personal energy and a personal vibration. Whew. Well, that's the end of today's show. Thank you for listening. Reality Spirituality Radio is heard every Sunday at 9 a.m. My website is RebeccaNorrington.com. Follow me on Twitter at RLNorrington. LinkedIn, my Instagram handle is Reality Spirituality. YouTube channel, I'm going to try to put up this. I'm going to try to, I am going to try to put a new video on my YouTube channel. It was an interview I had with Jonathan Palmer on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. Anyway, my first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, can be purchased on Amazon. And Program for Unhappiness is going to be published hopefully before the end of the year. Until next week, my dear audience, I want you to remember who the hell you are. You are a physical extension of the universe. You are conscious energy, which is always evolving, always changing, always growing. Love is patient, and love is kind and patient. Be kind and patient to yourself. Accepting all of the journey in every moment, trusting that everything is in divine order, regardless of what your eyes tell you, regardless of how the ego wants to judge. Remember, you cannot have a happy ending to an unhappy journey. It is, that's from Abraham. It is about the journey. You've been listening to Reality Spirituality Radio with yours truly, Global Happiness Specialist, Rebecca L. Norrington. Remember, happiness, inner peace, and contentment are all practice skills. And I promise you, the more you practice, the more peace you're going to find, and the more you will experience this inner peace in every moment, including those moments that the ego says are unwanted. Have a conscious week. Thank you for listening.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's a new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. Reality, spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, spirituality. Oh, now we get real. Get real. Time to get down. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good.